blizzards. There'll be a bit of brightness in the afternoon, but it's not going to feel warm. Those winds are the biggest cause for concern widely across northern and western areas. Later on Friday, gusts of 50 to maybe 65 miles an hour, and an amber Met Office warning in place for the northeast, where gusts of 75 miles an hour, perhaps even a little more in some places, during Friday evening and into Saturday morning. There is a warning for the snow as well. Those kind of winds could cause some structural damage, certainly make for some disruption on the roads, potentially cause some power issues also. There will be this zone of wet weather then sinking south on Friday night. That will still have some snow mixed in, mostly hills, but there could be a little bit at lower levels, so that's an extra hazard. Details of that snow on Saturday still uncertain. It does look as if there won't be much at low levels, and if there is, it'll melt fairly quickly. But still a cold wind blowing on Saturday. The weather warnings are all on the Met Office website. Bye for now.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. Over a drink, we have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Hello, good evening. My name's Dominic Frisby, and in just a moment, myself and two of the UK's top comedians in the GB News price bracket will be taking a look at tomorrow's papers, thereby saving you the drudge of having to read them yourselves. But first, here's Karen with the news.
Thank you, Dominic. These are your latest headlines. A travel ban is to be imposed on 6 African nations over a new COVID-19 variant, which officials say is the worst one we've seen so far. From midday tomorrow, flights from South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Botswana, Eswatini and Zimbabwe will be suspended, and all 6 countries will be added to the red list. Health Secretary Sajid Javid announced that UK travellers will be required to quarantine. No cases of the variant have as yet been found in Britain. The Prime Minister has written to French President Emmanuel Macron setting out a 5-point plan to prevent channel crossings. The measures include joint maritime patrols in each other's territorial waters and better real-time intelligence sharing. Boris Johnson also wants work to begin immediately on an agreement to see those who do reach the UK swiftly return to France. He hopes the measures will reduce the incentive for people to put their lives in the hands of traffickers and prevent further tragedies. GB News understands that a body found on a beach near Calais today is not thought to be linked to yesterday's small boat sinking, which left 27 people dead. The identity of the victim is unknown, but they are believed to have attempted to cross the channel. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is scheduled to meet French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin over the weekend.
I have literally, Madam Deputy Speaker, just spoken again with my French counterpart, Minister Darmanin, and I've once again reached out and made my offer very clear to France in terms of joint France and UK cooperation, joint patrols to prevent these dangerous journeys from taking place. I've offered to work with France to put more officers on the ground and do absolutely whatever is necessary to secure the area so that vulnerable people do not risk their lives by getting into unseaworthy boats.
A gas leak in a Siberian coal mine has resulted in the deaths of at least 52 people, including 6 members of the rescue team. The methane gas explosion at the Lisvyazhnaya mine took place around 250 metres underground. 239 people have been rescued. It's the deadliest mine accident in the country since 2010, when 91 people were killed. Tube passengers face widespread disruption from tomorrow due to a series of strikes being launched by London Underground drivers. Members of the Rail, Maritime and Transport Union will walk out in a dispute over claims that new night tube rotas will affect their work-life balance. A 24-hour strike on tube lines Central, Jubilee, Northern, Piccadilly and Victoria will start at 4:30 a.m. on Friday, with further action planned in the coming weeks. You are right up to date now. Back to Headliners.
Good evening and welcome to Headliners, the show that looks at tomorrow's news stories today. And in olden times, when a ship came in from overseas, crowds would gather at the quayside and shout out, "What news from abroad?" And sailors would shout the news back as they tied up their ropes and unloaded their cargo. We are the modern equivalent of those sailors, except without the scurvy. My name's Dominic Frisby, and in a moment we will pull back and reveal who are tonight's sailors, our comedic paper analysts. But first, let's run through tomorrow's headlines. The Daily Mail has Macron non to UK boots on French beaches. Tensions keep on rising. The Independent goes with ministers reject plea for safe routes to Britain. The Telegraph has my wife was on the boat, I tracked the GPS, then it disappeared. Can you imagine? Plus, new super variant puts African countries on the red list. The red list is back. The Guardian leads with 6 countries on red list as COVID variant poses significant threat. That has escalated so quickly. We covered this yesterday, and it was only about 5 people that had it. Also, MPs told to act to stop loss of life in the Channel. The Financial Times has Britain and France clash over response to Channel tragedy, and taxpayers left exposed to gas market volatility on top of 1.7 billion bulb bailout. Doesn't our energy policy make you proud? The Mirror has DIY death boats and a photo of Richard Madeley saying, "I'm gutted, having just been carted off, I'm a celeb." The Times has variant halts travel to Africa, and PM wants joint patrols in France. The Express has UK troops to patrol French beaches. It's like Agincourt all over again. And The Sun has Richard out, Arlene and Naughty Boy on brink. If only I had any idea what that meant. The Metro has "We just want to live like you," the words of a young boy migrant who arrived in Britain yesterday. And thank goodness for the Daily Star, as on it as ever, Madonna gets stuck under her bed. And with me to look at tonight's stories, we have 2 big-name comedians, well, comedians with big names. A man who alone is living proof that Scotland must be given its independence as soon as possible. Half man, half giant caber, it's Leo Kearse. And a chap who, prior to becoming a comedian, was a stock photo model. You might be familiar with some of his work, Bored Office Worker and Man on Train. It's Nick Dixon.
Outrageous.
And so to our first story, which is from the Mail, Fishy Frenchman, or is it French Fisherman? Nick.
Yes, the Mail has French fishermen will block ferries and UK-bound goods heading to the Channel Tunnel tomorrow as a warning shot in row over post-Brexit fishing licences. So it's all a bit complicated, this story, but basically what happened is France, of course, threatened to ban British boats from unloading their catches at French ports and subject all British imports to inspections. I've said of course, and I'm reading it verbatim off that. But, and then it escalated. Of course, as we know. And then obviously, we hit back and basically said, we're not giving you your licenses then to the French fishermen. They didn't love that. So now they are threatening to block ferries and UK-bound goods. So it's all escalating. It is, I'm sure, very serious. But I can't help but think of that meme. I don't know if you saw it with the dogs. There's a big muscular dog, and it says France and England before, and the two dogs are saying, "I'll dominate the world." No, I'll dominate the world. And then you cut to France and England now, and it's these two little weak dogs going, "It's my fish." No, it's my fish. So that's basically where we are.
Yeah, no, it is. That's absolutely right. And it's boring. It's this. I think if people knew Brexit was going to result in this level of boring, pedantic argument over fishing licences, there would have never been a referendum in the first place. This isn't the sort of thing. I preferred it when we settled national differences with armadas. I'd be willing to take a cannonball to the head to get past all this Brexit news. Remember when news was exciting?
I remember, in the 70s, you probably don't, you're too young.
Far too young.
Cod Wars. We had the Cod Wars.
You had the Cod Wars.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of people on Twitter that would like to put a cannonball to your head, I think.
Yeah, but they're all too weak to do it. Couldn't even lift it off the planks.
They couldn't reach you.
Yeah.
So we move on to the Telegraph, Leo, and it seems freezing weather and 30-odd people drowning in the English Channel is no deterrent.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tragic story, of course. I mean, it's the main page of most of the papers today. So 27 men, 7 women and 3 children drowned. Their boat sank. They're migrants coming from France. And it's kind of related to the last story because France and the UK have fallen out over fishing licences, and obviously Brexit's, rumbling on as well. So France is sort of hasn't been holding back. It's been sort of allowing migrants, free flow across the channel, and sadly, it's resulted in this terrible tragedy. And even despite this tragedy, there's still just hours after the worst migrant tragedy in the Channel that killed 27 people. A group of asylum seekers were helped ashore in Dover. This is in the Telegraph. So the latest group of around 25 people was picked up and brought into Dover Marina at around 5 a.m. With pictures showing them being brought ashore after the perilous crossing. And I mean, it's a huge industry. Migrant trafficking is a huge industry. People pay 15,000 euros to be brought to the UK, and then the cost
of getting in on it.
Well, the cost to deport them is £100,000. I just think there's a gap in the market for Ryanair to come in and do it for £7.99.
Surely there is. Now, I've just completely forgotten what I was going to say. I know what it was. When I first saw your French fishing story and the French fishermen were blockading, my first thing is, aren't they nice people? They're blockading to stop the boats coming across and save all those people's lives. But no, sadly not.
I like the way you said it's my story, as if I broke it. I was the first to break that story.
You are our expert on French fishing rights.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we should allow French fishermen to catch our fish. We only eat the fingers. Just let them have the rest of it.
We know they're our fish, Leo.
They live in the sea.
Yeah.
Sea's everybody's.
Right, we've got The Independent now with rumours of a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson.
Yes, Independent. Powerful Tory backbench committee in talks with Boris Johnson amid rumours over leadership. So a delegation of Conservative backbenchers have held talks with Boris Johnson amid swirling speculation about MPs' dissatisfaction over his performance as Prime Minister. I sounded a bit Boris there. Good thing I'm not going to start riffing about Peppa Pig. But I think Boris seems to be in more and more trouble lately, doesn't he? And I think that Peppa Pig thing seems to have... We already had Piggate a while ago, didn't we, with Cameron? This is now Peppa Piggate. I'm coining that, unless anyone's already claimed that. So basically what happened, there's just rumblings at the moment, because obviously the 1922 committee needs 54 letters of no confidence to trigger an election. I don't think they've had that yet, but there are rumours they've had a few letters. So, yeah, there's just rumours that they're not satisfied with Boris, and there might be, if he carries on his political blunders, there might be a challenge coming.
Yeah. I mean, this is the time for Boris. I mean, this has been said before, but this is the time for Boris to knuckle down and start, treating the position with a bit of dignity instead of just turning up on a zip line, rugby tackling a Japanese child and making some vaguely racist gaffe. So
That's when he was mayor, though, wasn't it? I mean, it's more fun role,
Mayor can do whatever.
Mayor's a banter position.
I mean, look at the Toronto mayor smoking crack. That's like, mayor is basically being a Motley Crue. Is that what you're saying?
Mayor's a sort of mascot role.
He should take the mayoral role seriously as well. No, but I mean, I think his bumbling, oafish persona is finally wearing thin for some people, and they want
a lot of previous supporters have had enough.
Yeah,
that I remember in the dark days of Theresa May and all that, and the 1922 committee. That was the sort of first time they got onto the headlines. To get to 54 votes, even with somebody as unpopular as Theresa May, was a big ask. I think it's a non-story because I'm mixed with MPs, and I was speaking to an MP who came to a screening of one of my films earlier in the week, which you didn't turn up to, Leo. You were supposed to come to that.
I sent my apologies, but
you did. Okay. Anyway, you could have mixed with an MP, but anyway, you missed your chance. But I was saying, how bad are rumblings, and he's in with that 90-22 committee, and he was basically saying
it's nothing, right? Yeah, you're right, because even when Jacob Rees-Mogg came out and made that big sort of display of trying to get rid of Theresa May, even that didn't make a dent.
They got like 9 votes or something.
Right. So to get someone like Boris out, it's going to take a lot more.
Yeah, I think they all see Boris as their ticket to getting the gig next time round.
Right.
So they're not going to vote him out until there's a more popular potential replacement.
Nice little bit of insider information.
Well, GB
that really is your story.
I'm the guy with the inside rumours. Right, should we go to another story? Let's go to another story. Vaccine passports. As if vaccine passports couldn't get any worse. They could now have expiry dates.
Yeah.
More power to the bureaucrats.
Yeah, I mean, this does make sense. So this is in the Telegraph, and so the EU is to recommend a 9-month expiry date on COVID vaccine passports for those looking to travel into and around the European Union. It does make sense because when you have the vaccine or when you have coronavirus, your immunity wears off over time. So for me, because I've had coronavirus, my vaccine passport or my COVID recovery passport lasts for 6 months. So I've got another 5 or 4 or 5 months left.
So they've issued you with one of those?
Yeah, and I've travelled to Austria, I've been to Ireland.
You got to Austria?
Yeah.
I thought that's like uber strict, isn't it?
That was before, so that was about a month ago.
So that's just because you proved you had COVID and now you've got...
So it comes up in the NHS app. So I just showed it and fine to travel. You'll have to get the day 2. There's a lot of bureaucracy and admin around it that's there because it generates money for companies owned by friends of politicians, such as Owen Peterson, who was advising Randox. So this kind of makes sense. But I mean, I think having the expiry limit, the vaccine passports isn't so bad. But having mandatory vaccinations actually puts people off getting vaccinated.
People don't like being told what to do they?
Exactly. There's psychological reactance is what it's called. It's like if you walked into a car showroom and the guy was like, "You've got to buy this one," like rubbing your face against it and saying, "You must buy this one." Like you'd be like, "Whoa, I'm not buying this car."
So I was on the train to Manchester today, and there was some guy on the thing in the seat behind me whittering on about not having had the vaccine, and he was going, "I was with my girlfriend, she had it, I didn't get it. I was with so-and-so, they had it, I didn't get it." And this guy's clearly one of the sort of lucky 30% or 25% who's immune. So, or asymptomatic.
Yeah.
If you're one of that lucky 25%, there's literally no point having the vaccine.
Yeah.
But you don't have antibodies to prove it. There's nothing that caters for that.
Would the vaccine help prevent you carrying it and transmitting it to other people?
Hang on.
Well, no, you still get it you still get COVID if you've had the vaccine, don't you?
So you're just asymptomatic.
You can still get it. You're less likely they claim to transmit it, but you can still transmit it.
Right.
But are you saying that you're pro-vaccine passport, Leo? That's what disturbed me about.
No, I'm just saying this particular thing, the expiry in the vaccine passports makes sense from a scientific perspective.
Well, it's just a way to keep forcing you to have endless boosters.
Paperwork every night.
That is. I mean, how are the politicians' friends going to make money off these boosters
Oh, so
if we don't force people to have
it's
it
a
every 9 months?
subscription model booster thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're in favour of that?
No, I'm not in favour of it. I just say the expiry thing makes sense because the
immunity wanes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying you're against vaccine passports, but if you are going to have them, at least do it logically. Is that your position?
And I'm against mandatory vaccine passports.
Are you against them for international travel?
Oh man, this
I sound like Andrew Marr now, having a grilling Leo, but it just bothers me. I've got to represent my side of the internet and grill Leo on this because my people are going to be like, we're against vaccine passports in all circumstances. In all circumstances.
He just likes it because he's got his exemption and he can go anywhere for 6 months.
Although then after 4 months I'm going to have to get this vaccine apparently so I can go and do gigs in Europe. So
I knew you'd find an exemption to sort of hop around Europe.
Well, to be honest, you can get around the vaccine passport quite easily if you're going into a venue just by showing a screenshot of your friend's vaccine passport, as I found out going to see
I'll do that. Can you send me one?
We have The Guardian now. Well, yeah, my son showed me how to do that. We have The Guardian now with the Ahmed Arbery verdict. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Nick, you've got this one, lucky you.
You haven't, but I don't know how to pronounce it either. I think it's Ahmed. Was it Ahmed Arbery? Yeah.
Ahmed Arbery. I kind of gave it a her.
Yeah.
Ahmed.
So Ahmed Arbery verdict. This is in The Guardian. 3 white men found guilty of murdering black man as he jogged. Classic Guardian. I mean, I'm glad the left-wing press managed to get the races right this time, unlike The Independent the other day in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. But this seems to be, I haven't followed this, I'll be honest, as closely as the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, but most people, I have watched the video, it was pretty horrific, and most people seem to agree this was the right verdict. So this was not a case of self-defense. This actually was murder, partly in a legal sense, because one of the people, Greg McMichael, brought his own gun, so that was one aspect why you can argue it was not self-defense.
It was premeditated.
Yeah, whether it was premeditated, I'm not sure, but it's a technicality. But this is divided. I mean, some people on the right, like Candace Owens, was saying he was out burgling, he wasn't jogging. The people on the left were saying he was jogging. But most people have said this was actually pretty horrific. Even Trump at the time called it heartbreaking. He said it was a horrible thing. And some people have remarked it's just a pity that it's always racial, because actually we just need to look at each case on its merits. And the Kyle Rittenhouse one, everyone's like, oh, he's definitely evil, which he wasn't. That was self-defense. This one was murder, and we just need to look at it, logically.
In a white bloke jogging, are you saying it wouldn't have happened? Are you saying it would still have happened? Or?
No, I'm saying that the rhetoric surrounding it is very unfortunate.
That is an insightful headline in The Guardian, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that you can see what they've gone for in The Guardian, whereas they wouldn't have spun it like that, in other circumstances. So I'm just saying I wish we could get past all this racial spin on these stories.
But also...
Well, we've got to go. We've got to go to the break. Okay. We'll pick up where we left off. Now, my experience of this show so far is that parts 2 and 3 tend to be even better than part 1, if such a thing were possible. So we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with part 2 in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Weather, then ad break.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello. Earlier today, the Met Office named Storm Arwen. We're particularly concerned about the strength of the wind, especially later tomorrow and into Saturday morning. There will also be some snow in places from this storm system. It's coming in from the north, so it's bringing in colder air, but it's really the winds really picking up later on Friday. Those isobars really squeezing together initially across Scotland, but increasingly further south, some very strong winds during Friday night. Back to tonight, and the winds are picking up and bringing some rain across much of the UK. But ahead of that rain, clear skies will allow a fairly extensive frost across East Anglia and the south east. Temperatures may actually start to rise a little by dawn as the cloud spills in. It's going to be a cold day on Friday and a fairly grey morning with outbreaks of rain across much of England and Wales. Brighter skies follow, but so do the strong winds and increasingly snow showers over northern Scotland. In fact, that snow turning more and more persistent over northern Scotland, mostly over hills, but even at low levels there could be some, and routes like the A9 will be particularly treacherous with those strong winds making for blizzards. There'll be a bit of brightness in the afternoon, but it's not going to feel warm. Those winds are the biggest cause for concern widely across northern and western areas. Later on Friday, gusts of 50 to maybe 65 miles an hour, and an amber Met Office warning in place for the northeast, where gusts of 75 miles an hour, perhaps even a little more in some places during Friday evening and into Saturday morning. There is a warning for the snow as well. Those kind of winds could cause some structural damage, certainly make for some disruption on the roads, potentially cause some power issues also. There will be this zone of wet weather then sinking south on Friday night. That will still have some snow mixed in, mostly hills, but there could be a little bit at lower levels, so that's an extra hazard. Details of that snow on Saturday still uncertain. It does look as if there won't be much at low levels, and if there is, it'll melt fairly quickly. But still a cold wind blowing on Saturday. The weather warnings are all on the Met Office website. Bye for now.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby. With me are Leo Kearse and Nick Dixon, and together we are like an ageing boy band, except all our dance moves are to the right. We've done the front pages. Let's look inside the papers now. It's a story in the Express next. Fare dodging and tube strikes. The case for driverless tubes gets stronger. Leo, are you a fare dodger?
I'm not a fare dodger. I feel like I should be. I mean, the amount of times the Metropolitan line, I'm dependent on the Metropolitan line, which is constructed entirely out of dry spaghetti and dreams. And it just breaks. It just breaks. I was stuck in it last Friday. It just broke, and I was stuck on. I couldn't even get off, so I missed my show. So I lost loads of money. And like for some reason, I don't get to find TfL when that happens. But yeah, so this is in the Express. Basically, entire tube lines may be forced to close amid a crippling financial crisis. So I mean, this is precipitated by lockdown, of course, when tube and public transport usage dropped quite remarkably down to 10%. So apparently the Bakerloo and the Jubilee lines, which are two of the best ones, are both at risk of closure. So London tube drivers have recently threatened to strike as well over staff rotas in the night tube. So they're going to walk out. And yeah, I mean, it's surely time for driverless tubes. We've got them on the DLR. And the tube, there isn't even a steering wheel. All these guys get paid, like, what, 60 grand or something? To press a button. Press a button that says go. Press a button that says stop. You know what I mean? Geez, you train a gerbil to do it. And they're used to being in tunnels as well. So, yeah, I think just sack the lot of them. And... And in Cannes, London, you can't even take the car instead because all the roads have been turned into bike lanes, and there's so many different zones. There's a congestion zone, there's the ULEZ zone. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm getting a fine for using it. So yeah, I mean, transport in London is shocking at the moment.
Well, for balance, I'd like to say I'm sure it's a very difficult job. It's very stressful. It's
stressful.
It's stressful when you hit someone and all that. Anyway, it's a bit dark, but that happens. This is a bit worrying, though.
Also being underground all day is not very nice, but they get compensated. It's not.
Yeah, I'm just giving balance.
That'd be a perk for me. I'd be trying to take it up onto the platform. You know.
I mean, the idea that the Bakerloo and Jubilee line could close is a disaster. Anyone knows who's been on the tube. If one tube is delayed from like 3 minutes to 7 minutes, the whole thing shuts down. Every tube is rammed. You know what I mean? And when they strike, it basically collapses half the world's economy. You know, all they do, they have so much power when they strike. Have you ever tried to get into work? When I used to have a normal job, you try and get into work when the tube strike. It's absolute chaos. You can't. There's masses of people walking down the street. You can't get a bus. Everything shuts down. So the idea of tube lines shutting. I do think the unions have a bit too much power. It is quite worrying. And even, I mean, the tube, I feel weird about the tube. Sometimes...
But it's funny, the more they push it, the more likely the response will be just drivers. Because I understand the technology is already there on some of the tube lines. I mean, the DLR...
On the Metropolitan line, I think they do actually push it.
No, but on the overground, I think those trains on the overground, you know, the Ginger line, could be driverless.
Right.
OK.
But there was some deal struck whereby they used drivers.
I'm torn on the whole... I mean, this is because of a financial issue, obviously, but I'm torn on the whole thing with the tube. Sometimes you think, why doesn't it always just work perfectly? The Germans must be laughing at us. Yeah. But on other days, I think Jordan Peterson's right, that it's a miracle that any of this works at all. You know what I mean? Because it is a brilliant thing, the tube, in another way. But
another thing that's come out of this story is rail fare dodgers are facing a rise in fines with an increase to £100. So apparently the current penalty for fare dodging on London Underground is only £20. I can't believe I've been paying for a ticket. I'm just going to vault the barrier.
A ticket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ticket. I actually think there's a moral case for fare dodging because
such a libertarian premise of it.
The trains are so ludicrously overpriced that fare dodging is a way of, you know, if you fare dodge every 5 or 10 journeys, then you sort of reduce the...
I remember back in Newcastle on the metro, no one ever paid because there was no way of checking. You could just walk through, so just no one ever paid for years. I mean, no, some people must have, but we didn't for years.
Did anybody come
allegedly.
on and fine you?
Never happened. You could, back then, you could just not pay. Simpler times.
Yeah.
Obviously, I paid, just for the record.
It's taken us 7 stories to get there, but finally, we have some good news. An amazing discovery, Nick, in the East Midlands, of all places.
Yes, this is in The Guardian. The headline is, "Oh, wow, remarkable Roman mosaic found in Rutland Field." So a family ramble, which is like a posh walk, led to...
On their own land.
Yeah, that's a Guardian's idea of a walk. It led to, in the north, we call it a walk. Family ramble led to most exciting Roman mosaic discovery in the UK in the last century. So it's a discovery of a Roman villa complex containing a rare mosaic depicting Homer's The Iliad, now thought to be one of the most remarkable and significant finds of its kind in Britain. I'm sure this is very significant. It's kind of wasted on me.
I'll just tell you how learned I am.
Yes.
I think specifically that is the battle between Achilles and Hector.
I knew this would be up your street.
Of Troy.
And is this where Achilles was killed because his heel was... Achilles killed Hector. Right.
And in retaliation, Paris, who was Hector's brother, I believe, shot his bow and arrow and got Achilles in the tendon.
Wow. Right. See, I knew you'd know that, Dom, because this is your little factoids. This is your area.
Love Greek mythology, mate.
You should take this story because it's so wasted on me. I feel like... I remember... this is so wasted on me. I remember classic Billy Connolly talking about he'd go on holiday with his kids, trying to get them interested in scenery, but they just don't care. And then he asked them what the best part of the holiday was, and they said Sesame Street. It was a cassette they had on in the car. And that's what I'm like with things like this. I'm trying to care about it. I'm like, this is really weighty and important, but I simply don't. But I'm sure you do.
It's kind of cool discovering a Roman
It's awesome and amazing.
on the grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they used, so they spotted the crop mark. So I think that's quite interesting. I'm just trying to pique Nick's interest. They saw it from the patterns in the crop.
Yeah, use satellite. Where did he get the satellite images from?
I think he saw it and then they checked it out using a family-owned satellite or something. They sound like they've got money.
It's very
They've got mosaics on their land. You know, I've never met a poor person with mosaics.
Do they get to keep it? We won. I guess. I think it's 50% split between them and the.
I think with things like this, because I know when they find Roman coins and things, you've got to, by law, unless you flog it on the black market, which you shouldn't do, by law you've got to hand it over. It's like the property of the state, but you get rewarded for.
I met a professional treasure hunter once. And there's a lot of non-declaration of found stuff that goes on.
I should imagine there is.
You're full of information tonight.
Right. Now, I'm not sure if this is good news or bad news, but Theresa May is dancing again.
Yeah.
according to the Mail.
So this is reported in the Daily Mail. I can report it myself. I was at the Parliamentarian of the Year Awards last night,
Really?
Dominic. Yeah,
As a
you're
spectator?
bragging about
How come you're
hobnobbing with
such
an
a
MP.
VIP?
I was right there. I was at the table a few feet from Theresa May. So she went up. She actually
Did you
didn't
win?
really. I didn't win. I wasn't nominated this year. I flounced out in
How come you
disgust.
got invited to that?
Because I'm a mover and shaker, Dominic.
You went for Parliament, didn't you?
I did run for election, yeah.
Is that why you got invited?
Well, yeah, and through friends. So yeah.
It's only in Scotland though, so let's not get carried away. Carry on.
Scotland.
Joking. I love Scotland. Got cousins there.
Scotland
You get
doesn't love
emails.
you. So yeah, Theresa May, she became famous. Well, I say she became famous. She was Prime Minister. She was ridiculed when she performed the dance in South Africa. She went up and did this weird, awkward robotic dance. But since then it's become something that we love about her. Possibly the only thing.
I couldn't stand her when she was Prime Minister, but I kind of warmed to her now.
Well, this is the thing. I think people are looking back fondly at Theresa May. She was an incredibly hard-working, diligent public servant. That kind of, like a real sort of, almost like a caretaker Prime Minister, which is, I've got a lot of time for that. I think people have got a lot of time for that. Now that we've had, some years of bumbling oafishness.
Trump and Boris, now we want the robots back.
We want some technocrats.
But no one ever really doubted her industriousness. They doubted her bold leadership, didn't they? She's a great if she was in a start-up, she'd be a great number two. She'd be doing the accounts.
Yeah.
She's not the visionary leader. But I think it's such a classic English story, hated when she was at the top. You know what I mean? Humbled, dragged out in shame, and now that she's a backbencher underdog doing a funny dance, we love her again.
Yeah.
Isn't that so English?
And in fact, that's the award she won. She picked up the Spectator magazine's Backbencher of the Year award, which is, I guess, like the Rear of the Year award.
In a way.
Yeah.
Now it's the Times next and a toxic masculinity story. And if anyone knows about toxic masculinity, it's my panel here. And Nick, this is your story.
Outrageous. Yeah, well, I thought it was in the Telegraph, but whichever, it's in one of them. And it's society needs to address toxic masculinity, Benedict Cumberbatch says. So thanks, Benedict. So yeah, he's got a new film that addresses this topic. So he's mouthing off and he's saying, men just have to shut up and listen, apparently, and we need to fix the men. So this kind of stuff really winds me up. It's sort of privileged showbiz dorks telling men how to behave. We have Robert Webb from Peep Show. We've got Benedict Cumberbatch. They're all telling men that we're bad. And it started to really annoy me because actually, yeah, maybe we do need to listen, but certainly women need to listen as well. Everyone could do with listening a bit more. And you just see this attack on men. Yeah. I'm kind of sick. Also, his industry is the problem, not men. The Me Too movement was a Hollywood thing. To some degree, comedy industry, not great either. But it's not an issue with men. You haven't got like an IT guy doing a Me Too. It's not average men that are doing these things.
You do get it in other industries.
You get it.
Anywhere where there's power and gatekeepers.
It's not all men.
No, what I'm trying to say is it's a bit rich for Hollywood stars to be saying, hey, guys, men, you need to sort yourselves out. It's like, maybe sort out your own industry, which is incredibly corrupt. Also, to me, look at the rise of Jordan Peterson. Some people say he's just saying sort of trite homilies, but you see how massive he became just from supporting and listening to young men and saying, trying to give them some help. So I get really annoyed when I see men in sort of powerful positions dissing men and just saying, oh, we're all to blame.
Well, and just this phrase, toxic masculinity, because it's just used to describe men are aggressive and good at fighting, but they're only seen as bad because we haven't had bears and Nazis and Vikings for the last 50 years. Like, there's only a certain amount of oil and internet left, and then we're going to descend into this Mad Max dystopia. Then the Vikings will smell weakness, they'll come back and start making. Like, what are you going to do if there's no toxic masculine men left to fight the Vikings? You're going to get all these non-toxic men to, like make an online petition out of twigs.
So your argument is we need a certain amount of toxic men to defend our borders. Kind of the argument that Jack Nicholson made in that movie.
I don't know what movie.
When he shouted, "You can't handle the truth," he's saying you need guys like me out on the front line in the army.
Well, yeah, no, I mean we do need some toxic masculine men. I don't think the traits that are seen as toxic in men are actually that toxic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I thought you were making a bold bid for toxic masculinity. I'm saying we're not toxic.
Yeah, but you turned it into this anti-immigration thing. I'm not only anti-immigration against Nazis and Vikings.
I didn't mean anti-immigration. I meant that it was you that did that. You said we need to fight Vikings.
Yeah. Okay. I told you that we have got the leading toxic male experts on the panel, and they have delivered full toxicity. Right, we're going to take an ad break. We'll see you in a moment for the climax of this orgasmic show. Don't you dare think about going to bed.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Nick Dixon and Leo Kearse are with me, and before we pick up on our next story, we find out whose birthday it is tomorrow. And the answer to that is politicians Keith Vaz and Hilary Benn, both controversial, but for different reasons. It's footballers Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Des Walker, who you will never beat, and singers Rita Ora, but not her sister Kia, and Tina Turner, who turns 300. So happy birthday to all of them. And on this day tomorrow in 1789, America had its first national Thanksgiving, and 2 years later, its first ever cabinet meeting at George Washington's home with Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson and Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton. How the mighty have fallen. Today it's Joe Biden, Antony Blinken and Janet Yellen, and they're pulling down Jefferson's statues. In 1922, on this day, archaeologist Howard Carter opened up Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt. And in 1976, the Sex Pistols released their debut single, Anarchy in the UK. If only. Right, so let's go to our next story, and we start with wills. Some of us, it seems, are not planning to share our wealth equally among our children, says the Mail. Nick.
Yes, where there's a will, there's a war. Only 2/3 of Britons plan to share inheritance equally among their children. And this is a very unfortunate thing. I mean, it's happened in my family. When people don't share the inheritance equally, it does not go very well. And it almost happened twice in my family, but there was a discussion about it. And this says here, just 1 in 5 Britons said their family had talked openly about inheritance.
But in your family, what happened? Did you split the coal in the bath evenly, or...?
Is this a northern joke?
Yeah.
I see. From a Scottish person. That's amazing. Did you split the haggis? It doesn't work. The point is, OK, so 68% said they'd give all their children an equal share, which is good.
See, I actually, because that goes with that title, only 2/3.
Yes.
I actually think it's 68%, which is, you know, nearly 70%, which I think is quite pretty good, really.
Yeah, it's not...
I'm sure some of that 30% have got their reasons not to share them equally.
Well, it's not terrible. 16% said they wouldn't, 16% hadn't decided, 15% said they either do not have or did not leave a will. I mean, the children said that, the parents didn't. Well, it is a big problem, though. You see, even if... The thing about wills... It's not just the money. Even it's how people feel about it.
Yeah.
Even if one of them was a billionaire and the other one was poor, you'd at least have to have the discussion, because people feel that it's saying, oh, you love that person more than the other one.
Yeah.
That's the horrible thing about it, and it's caused problems forever. Think about King Lear. You lads all know King Lear. But King Lear said he divided in 3 the kingdom. And Cordelia wouldn't, he said nothing will come of nothing. She wouldn't sing for her supper. She got nothing. The whole thing escalated. People's eyes got gouged out. It went very badly, is my point.
But that was a play.
Yes, but the point is Shakespeare knew.
When somebody, he did know.
And if you look
when
at
somebody dies, people come sniffing around.
Right.
And people behave really... There's a really nasty side to people come out. When
look at Game of Thrones. Also, look at Succession. It's still a huge thing, isn't it? The wills, succession. These are huge issues. So you've got to get it right. And you've got to talk about it, people, ideally.
There we go. That's the message of tonight's show. You have to talk about it, people. Have you inherited any money?
Not yet.
Have you got any descendants?
Oh, actually, yeah, my grandma died and I got some money. Not a lot.
Share?
Between me and my brother, probably, yeah. I can't remember how much it was.
You don't even know.
Also, I got all the food out of our cupboards. I mean, for me, I was like 22 or something. I got these like free Bentos pies. I'm not joking. It was quite exciting.
Luxury. Another story from the Express next. Bad weather is coming this weekend. Storm Arwen, presumably named after Aragorn's girlfriend in Lord of the Rings, Leo.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's in The Guardian as well. I think more than one paper has reported on it. So Storm Arwen is coming out. The Met Office has put out weather warnings. We're going to have a weekend of up to 80 miles an hour winds and disruption. So there's going to be yellow weather warnings, and in areas of Scotland, there's going to be an amber warning. And yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. Like this time of year, I just cannot understand how the UK became colonised in the first place. Like when people left Africa, early man left Africa and came up like to Greece. Like, yeah, Greece is nice. To France, it's still cold in the winter. Why would you come to the UK where it's absolutely freezing? This was before central heating and Gore-Tex and things like that. So they must have been absolutely just like the rabbit skin tied around their waist and dealing with this weather. I just don't understand
Well, maybe
how
it
that
was
worked.
warmer when they came here and then the seas rose and they got cut off and they couldn't go back.
So some sort of climate change thing. Because people do link extreme weather events like this, which isn't particularly extreme. They try and link it to climate change.
I think Britain was populated first when the channel wasn't there and people...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right, and then we dug the channel because we didn't like...
I think most of us are... old English people are Iberian.
Right.
In descent.
Do you actually remember this?
Well, I wasn't there. No, I'm old.
Yeah, so why did we dug the channel? Just to have something to argue about. We needed some fishing rights to argue about.
Fish, migrants, everything.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed you got so much out of that story. So Leo's passionate about some weather. I mean, I looked at this and thought, why are we doing the weather report?
Are you both driving to gigs this weekend?
No, I'm gigging in London.
No, I've phased out my gigs. I just do this now and do London gigs.
I like how you say you phased them out. I think the promoters phased them out.
No. I just don't like leaving London anymore.
But I'm staying in London. When you're driving and it's horrible weather and it's cold and
but why are we covering weather? I mean, we've got some of the best comedians in the country here today, and Leo. So why are we? look at this story. We'll see some heavy rain and blustery heavy showers and severe gales into northern areas. It's just a weather report masquerading as a news story.
It literally is.
Let's do another one and see if this gets a better approval from Nick Dixon. Leo, I think this is you. Is it one of the great crimes of our time? Student debt. One student has run up a debt of £189,700. That is a lot of pot noodles.
Yeah, so this is obviously an extreme case, but this is reported in The Guardian. It's the largest amount of debt amassed by a student in England, £189,700, and research is warning of the severe psychological toll that high levels of student debt are taking on graduates. And there's been an outpouring of comments from graduates citing student debts around the £100,000 mark, but mainly from people who studied 5-year medicine degrees. So they're going to make that money back, and they're going to pay it back to the system. So, I mean, I think it is fair that people pay for their own. I mean, in Scotland, I think they've got free tuition fees and all the rest of it for university, but that just means that you're taxing bus drivers and cleaners to pay for somebody with green hair to do a gender studies
English
degree.
bus drivers.
Yeah, basically, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think young people need to move away from degrees and learn trades and craftsmanship. Like my father's a gunsmith, and I'd always be in his workshop I'd be in his workshop saying, "Oh, teach me this stuff, Dad." Looking up at, "Teach me this stuff," and he'd be like, "No," working away like in his well-paid craftsman job, saying like, "No, you're going to get a liberal arts degree from a former polytechnic, and that'll be the path to riches." And here I am now, Dominic.
Yeah, well, you've made it. You went to the spectator party. None of us got to go.
My tactic's always been never earn enough to have to pay back the student loan, you know what I mean? And that's always worked out for me because it's means tested, so just stay on the means. What I want to know is, I don't think why students are encouraged to take these loans. For a start, don't even go to university if you're an art student because it's pointless.
Yeah.
Now it's remote anyway with COVID.
Yeah.
It's all woke. You can learn stuff on YouTube. You don't even need it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And if you do go, people say, oh, the loan is it's a low interest rate. It's generous. Yeah, but over a number of years, it still amounts to quite a lot.
It's still there.
It's still there. And especially in the US, it's basically slavery, isn't it? Because they have absurd amounts.
Yeah, I'll learn more in 2 weeks of working in a radio station than I did in my entire media degree.
Yeah, you learn more in a street fight than you do at university. You learn more about yourself, one fight, which I had.
There is a value to going to university, and you do build up networks there.
Well, you
that
did.
can last you for life. Well,
not the ones we go to.
Well, I only went to Manchester. It's not that glamorous, and I'm still friends with people, 30 years on who I met at university.
I'm not. Maybe it's my personal.
Why didn't they invite you to the Spectator Awards party?
None of them were invited because they're all stupid lefties. They're all at the New Statesman Awards party. But my son's just gone to university now, and you can see the toll the debt takes on them, and they all know they're being screwed over.
Yeah.
Can I just say, due to broadcast regulations, the New Statesman is a brilliant paper, or whatever it is.
Sure, well done. I didn't understand what he said, but what he said. Meanwhile, you could get a job writing letters for the Queen at Buckingham Palace. This is a full-time job, and you could earn 23 grand. Nick?
Yep, Queen looking for letter writer. You'll get paid 23k and won't need qualifications. This is in the Star. And yes, 23 grand. You think, OK, not bad, but then you realise, hang on, it's quite a lot of responsibility, given you could end the monarchy with a bad letter. You're writing for the Queen, she's pretty old, maybe she's having a nap, and you've written something like, hey, I just want to say to your country, slavery was good, signed the Queen. You know what I mean? That's an extreme example, but it's quite a lot of responsibility. And what they've tried to sell it here by saying, look, you'll be situated in the most glamorous and iconic offices in the world, Buckingham Palace. It's like, yeah, but you'll have to listen to Charles bang on about climate change, so it's not obviously great. My favourite bit is...
Somebody's going to take that job who doesn't need the money, aren't they?
They'll probably do it for the networking, like you said, Dom. It's quite a good networking job to hang out with the Queen all day.
Yeah.
My favourite bit is the job description, because it says there are no set or desired qualifications for applicants, but there is specific experience that people need to have. You're like, all right, what's that? And then it says administrative experiences and excellent written and communication skills, the most generic job description of all time, detail-focused. I could do it, I'm starting to think now.
Good team player?
Yeah, good team player. Applications are open and will close on December 5th. I could actually go for this. I might go for it. I've changed my mind. It's a good idea. What do you think, Leo?
You could do it, and you could do this in the evenings.
I just think I applaud the good work Nicola Sturgeon is doing to reduce the amount of letters written. So she's bringing health outcomes down in Scotland, so nobody ever reaches 100 and needs to get a telegram from the Queen. Although parts of Glasgow, if you reach 40, you do get a letter from Susan Boyle.
I remember my great-aunt reached 100 when I was about 7 years old, and she got the letter from the Queen. We were terribly proud.
Right.
Now, not many people know this, but Leo Kearse is a former professional ballet dancer, and he did it so that he could wear the tights. And much to his disgust, his alma mater, the Royal Ballet, is going woke. Alma mater means your former...
Oh, don't patronise me, Dominic.
Well, you were going alma mater, what does that mean?
School you went to.
It's a Morrissey song.
So, yeah, and you mock me. You mock me. I was a professional dancer. Dominic, I was a professional dancer for David Icke. If you go on YouTube and you search for David Icke non-comply dance, you can see me dancing on stage with David Icke at Wembley Arena. And I got paid £100.
Is that a euphemism, professional dancer?
No, I'm literally professional dancer. But anyway, so this is in the Daily Mail.
I met once at an anarchy conference in Acapulco.
Everything about that sentence was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's insane. OK. Well, yeah, anyway, so to actually get round to the actual news story, so the Royal Ballet has changed the harem scene in the Nutcracker for the Christmas show to make an inclusive environment for performers and audiences, because it's obviously incredibly important to make everything inclusive by...
Leo there. Is that Leo on screen?
This is, he's the guy about to get his nuts cracked. And this is the harem scene, which looks like a pretty terrible harem to me.
There's a lot that's offensive in that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you know, everybody's worried about things being inclusive, so you've got to make things inclusive by excluding things. So the scene's been reimagined as a duet instead of the usual 3 females and 1 male over fears. It was offensive, and this change comes. There's a recent other change. The Scottish Ballet removed elements of caricature from Arabian and Chinese sequences after a review found that some scenes proliferated racial stereotypes. So, I mean, I hope none of these people have ever gone to a pantomime.
I think Panto's going woke as well, unfortunately.
Right.
The part that bothered me was they said they've turned the harem scene into a duet. I mean, you'd be a bit gutted, wouldn't you? That's not really a harem, is it? That's like saying you're going to have a threesome, then it's just your wife there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gutted.
But she's a schizophrenic, so it still works.
Duet. That's a big come down. Right, we've got a story in the Independent now. Albatross divorce rates are rocketing, and you are to blame by causing climate change. This story really irritated me, Nick.
Yes, in the Independent, albatross divorce rate up due to climate change. It would be climate change, obviously. So the growing divorce rates between the birds might hinder their abilities to successfully raise offspring, kind of like what's happening in the human world, societal collapse. Plus, apparently, they're now on Tinder, which is an issue. Now, it would be plenty of fish with them, wouldn't it?
Hey!
Right? Am I right? Is this even on?
That's where you get the big bucks.
Because they have a mainly fish-based diet, guys. So, apparently, here's another one. If breeding fails, many albatrosses, mostly females, leave their partner and try to find better mates. Typical, isn't it? I hate to be a toxic man again, but come on.
Please stop identifying with these albatrosses.
No, they find a better albatross with more money who's taller.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tragedy for the albatross community.
Yeah.
I also feel bad for albatrosses that they got the reputation of hanging around your neck, which you lads all know comes from the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge.
Right.
It is an ancient mariner, and he stoppeth one of 3.
There you go, public school.
Again, they're blaming this on climate change. Is there anything they can't blame on climate change? Like polyamorous albatrosses are due to climate change? Yeah, well, I just got engaged, so I'm worried if albatrosses aren't lasting the distance anymore. Like, what hope have humans got?
Well, yeah. Right, let's move on. The Daily Star has this next story on I'm a Celebrity, Richard Madeley and COVID restrictions. Everyone's always furious in newspaper headlines, but I gather this time Richard Madeley is livid.
He's livid.
He's livid.
Such a Richard Madeley word, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm livid.
I can't imagine him being livid. But yeah, like this is reported in the Telegraph, which I'm kind of disappointed the Telegraph are actually reporting on this. So Richard Madeley is livid that he can't return to the I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here castle following. He had to go to hospital on Wednesday evening, but he's fine, but he can't go back in because of COVID restrictions, which to me, I'm disappointed. I'd like to see that I'd watch I'm a Celebrity if they were infected with COVID. In fact, I think we should introduce other diseases. I want to see anthrax. I want to see smallpox. Like bubonic plague. I'd love to see them all like with buboes trying to eat a grasshopper.
It will be. It will be. Sorry, something just changed on the autocue and I lost my concentration momentarily, but I'm going to get it back seamlessly. Right, they've banned leather trench coats in North Korea because it is disrespectful to Kim Jong-un, who has a leather trench coat. And Leo, you're our Kim Jong-un expert.
So Kim Jong-un, who's described in the Mirror as a despot, even though he's quite similar to the leaders that the Mirror usually approves of, appeared on television wearing a long leather coat like the Matrix 2 years ago. So people in North Korea, men in North Korea want to copy him. So they've launched a crackdown. According to insiders, the North Korean authorities have launched a crackdown on people wearing long leather coats, claiming it's disrespectful to Kim.
How did they even get long leather coats?
Well, I don't know. They probably... I have no idea, to be honest. I mean, I have no idea.
They're kind of quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite... I just can't believe there's insiders in North Korea, and this is the intelligence we're getting from them. You know what I mean? Never mind the super weapons, the bombs, or asking why women with red hair are crazy. Why are they telling us about long leather coats? Tell us about the nuclear weapons.
Do you know what? I'm really going off North Korea. I have to say, after this story, do you know what I mean? I'm not sure about them, I'll be honest with you. Why is it disrespectful? They all want to look like Kim Jong-un. Surely that's the ultimate compliment. But now he's banned it, basically saying you can't all copy me.
Well, that's all we have time for tonight, I'm afraid.
On that bombshell.
And thank you very much for watching. I hope we've converted your attitudes North Korea. Thank you to my guests Nick Dixon and Leo Kirsten. We'll be back on Monday at 11 p.m, pulling apart the news once again. Until then, cheerio.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello. Earlier today, the Met Office named Storm Arwen. We're particularly concerned about the strength of the wind, especially later tomorrow and into Saturday morning. There will also be some snow in places from this storm system. It's coming in from the north, so it's bringing in colder air, but it's really the winds really picking up later on Friday. Those isobars really squeezing together initially across Scotland, but increasingly further south. Some very strong winds during Friday night. Back to tonight, and the winds are picking up and bringing some rain across much of the UK. But ahead of that rain, clear skies will allow a fairly extensive frost across East Anglia and the southeast. Temperatures may actually start to rise a little by dawn as the cloud spills in. It's going to be a cold day on Friday and a fairly grey morning with outbreaks of rain across much of England and Wales. Brighter skies follow, but so do the strong winds and increasingly snow showers over northern Scotland. In fact, that snow turning more and more persistent over northern Scotland, mostly over hills, but even at low levels there could be some, and routes like the A9 will be particularly treacherous with those strong winds making for blizzards. There'll be a bit of brightness in the afternoon, but it's not going to feel warm. Those winds are the biggest cause for concern widely across northern and western areas. Later on Friday, gusts of 50 to maybe 65 miles an hour, and an amber Met Office warning in place for the northeast, where gusts of 75 miles an hour, perhaps even a little more in some places during Friday evening and into Saturday morning. There is a warning for the snow as well. Eruption on the roads potentially cause some power issues. Sinking south on Friday night. That will still have some snow mixed in, mostly hills, but there could be a little bit at lower levels, so that's an extra hazard. Details of that snow on Saturday still uncertain. It does look as if there won't be much at low levels, and if there is, it'll melt fairly quickly. But still a cold wind blowing on Saturday. The weather warnings are all on the Met Office website. Bye for now.
Canary Islands sponsors the...
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can